anything. It won't.
Okay.
It won't do anything until I click it on Facebook. I mean, that right there doesn't.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I got started in this business. Oh, Christ, it was about. I got an error. Hold on a second. Reconnect.
You're fine, Larry. You're good. Hold on. You're fine. Nope, I lost Larry.
I got lost.
There we go.
So
you're fine.
I got started in this around 1980.
Hold on a second, Larry, before you start. Hold on. All right, you're good now.
Okay, yeah, I got started around 1980 with EMS, and then getting my rescue rating, I had to have one optional class, and Firefighter 1 was the only thing available, and I took it, and then I was hooked. Yeah. So we had some really good mentors back in our day, the Hart family from Cool Springs, the Renters in Granville, the Claudes in Westover, just really good people and good mentors for the young guys. But we were talking last night after our meeting, and Dion McMillan and I were saying, when we rode tailboard, we would have to stand sideways. There were like 7 or 8 of us lined up back there.
Yeah. And different time, for sure.
Yep. Well, when I joined, I was living in La Mesa, and I couldn't make first truck most of the time because those guys literally lived in that building. But things progress. I'm glad that we're inside cabs with doors now and seat belted. Yeah. So that's a really good use of the progress and technology.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, you just seen, I follow a page on Facebook all the time. It's like line of duty deaths, and I see all the time, like early 1900s.
Yeah.
There was 90% of their guys that were dying were falling off the back of the truck and going on a turn, and they'd get thrown under the truck and just ran right over.
Yeah, exactly.
And there was literally nothing that they could do at that point. So
exactly.
All right, Larry. So obviously you're former Morgantown guy. So you started out volunteering. So what year did you say? About 1980?
About 1980, yeah.
Okay. And what department was that? Just so everybody knows.
Brookhaven.
Brookhaven. Okay. Yeah. So you've been a Brookhaven guy through and through, huh?
Yeah, for 40 some years.
Okay. All right. So 1980 started in Brookhaven. So about how long were you volunteer before you thought you wanted to get into the paid side?
It was a few years. I was still really trying to decide what I wanted to do, and I really liked the fire service, so I started taking the city test when I turned 18. Well, no, it was later than that because I was 28 when I was hired, and that was 1988. Okay. And then did 23 years and 19 days there. And when I started Morgantown, we were still on the tailboard. And then back then, your air packs were either mounted in a compartment or they were in the box in a compartment. So our thing was to get first water on the fire. You didn't have time to suit up all the time. You had a couple guys that made it to the front door and inside while the other 2 were suiting up.
Right. Yeah, I mean, back then, you guys were wearing what? Long boots?
Yeah,
we had a long coat.
We had the 3/4 boots that came up to mid-thigh, then a bunker coat that hung to your knees, and a plastic MSA Top Guard helmet.
Wow.
And we started out using demand masks. And if anybody doesn't know, you actually had to inhale to get the air to come through. It wasn't a constant pressure on your face piece. So a good seal was pretty important, and you knew if you didn't have one because you suck air in and you get smoke. Yeah, that's not a good thing. And hell, back then we were young and we didn't think anything of it. Yeah, and now we realize how stupid some of the stuff we did was and how lucky we are to still be here.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so started out, you started testing when you're about 18. Do you remember about when you got hired on?
I was hired December the 10th, 1988, and I retired December 29th, 2011.
Okay. So starting out as a paid guy, you had a couple years in. I mean, as a volley before before you got
Mhm.
on, so you kind of knew a little bit. You weren't
Yeah,
as green as some people. So so did Morgantown? I'm assuming they didn't have three stations back then.
yeah, yeah.
They
We had
did. They
three.
still they did have three stations.
Yeah, we
Okay.
had three. Now, back when I started, you didn't go to the Saberton station unless you had 20 years in.
Okay.
So that's where they sent guys to retire because it wasn't busy out there, not like it is
Right.
now.
Yeah. That's totally different. So
Hmm.
so what station did you start out in?
I started out downtown,
Downtown Station One.
and I was one of the first three to go through the state apprenticeship program. So it was me, Jay Bolliard, and Bob Cover.
Okay. So how did they do it back then? Now I know that you guys do what? You guys do your Fire One like in
Hmm.
house and stuff, right?
Yeah,
Everything's taught like that.
yeah, we did all that in house then also.
Okay. Okay. But then back then they actually sent you through. Oh, okay. So you mean as far as the way that the union is with the union apprenticeship? Is that what you mean?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Wait, you said you went through an apprenticeship. Do you mean like how you guys do the union apprenticeship? Like you do your first year, then after that,
It's kind of like an in-house academy, but it's 3 years
Okay.
and 6,000 hours.
Okay.
So, and that's all handled by the training captain.
Okay. Were you guys union back then?
Yes.
Okay, so they've
Yeah, if
always
I
been
remember
union.
right,
Okay.
we got our union charter around 1929.
Oh wow. It's a
So
good
yeah,
time then.
it's been union for a long time. It's just the city doesn't recognize it. But
Okay.
I think if they would, they could accomplish good things on both sides.
Yeah. All right. So started out station one.
Hmm.
You I know this is a long time ago. Do you remember your first call you ever got to run, or maybe your first fire?
Yeah, when I started, I worked a 6 hour Saturday just so I had seniority over another guy by 6 hours. But I did my 6 hours, come home, we got in bed that night, and about 2 in the morning got called in for a fire off Brockway Avenue. So
How was it? Pretty good job.
yeah, the second floor stairwell had burned off. So we were trying to fight our way up through and to get up on the second floor. But yeah, the first one was a pretty good one.
Okay. Well, so after that first call, I mean, was it what you thought what it was going to be? Because I mean, you kind of
Yeah,
get into the job with an impression of wanting to fight fire,
yeah,
and I guess you have this idea. I mean, it's totally different from the outside looking in, and then when you're the guy that's staring down, the end of that nozzle,
yeah, yeah.
that's totally different.
A little
So
different.
absolutely, and
Every department has their own way of doing certain things. It's
they
the
do.
same job, but depending on where you're at, they may do it a little bit different. But you've got an idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, that's true. So you guys, how many guys you guys running a truck back then?
we ran three, three
Okay.
on each engine and one on ladder or rescue.
Oh, okay. Only one. So driver
Just one.
and the mathman,
What's
or a
that?
truckman. So you guys ran one guy. So you had an engineer in the truck, and then oh, sorry about that. You
Yeah,
had so you had an engineer, and then you still had a truckman, or it was
yeah.
just a driver for the truck. Okay. So
Just
you
the
still
driver
had
for
one
the
and one.
truck. That was it.
Oh
So if you
wow.
needed
Okay.
to do truck work, you'd have to wait till the second engine come in. You'd assign them to the truck.
Okay.
But it was amazing back then how one person could get that truck in and get it set up by themselves.
Well, they kind of had to, right?
You had no choice, right? You had no choice.
Yeah.
You had to do it that way.
I, I, sometimes that's not really a bad thing because the guy that you had on truck is pretty proficient in his job.
Yeah, yeah,
Either he did his job or
yeah.
whole
It couldn't
operation
get
kind of
done.
got fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I assume you were still running pretty heavily with the volunteer fire department while you
Yeah,
were working as a paid guy, right?
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, so how about how long were you a regular fireman at Morgantown before you thought about wanting to maybe test up?
Well, once you start out as a recruit firefighter, then once you pass
Hmm.
your apprentice, you're automatically promoted to firefighter first class. And then I was promoted to lieutenant in 2005.
2005. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what was there anything when you got to lieutenant that you kind of weren't expecting? I know you were kind of around the job for a little bit at that
Hmm.
time, but I mean that you're taking on more responsibility at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In which my first shift as a lieutenant, my captain asked me what my priority was, and I said, everybody that comes in this building this morning goes home tomorrow morning. I
Yeah.
said, that's the most important thing to me. We all go home.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, those guys are trusting you
Hmm.
to make sure that you're making the right decisions to make sure
Yeah.
they get to go home.
Yep. And I
Uh,
was fortunate my whole time as lieutenant. I had outstanding engineers such as Chuck Campbell, John Lemley, and a few others, but just really, really good firefighters that were dedicated and knew their job. So, and that makes your job as an officer a lot easier. And then for the most part, the guys, they knew their job too. So you were a working supervisor. I mean, you were still suiting up and going inside and getting everything done.
well, yeah, I mean, and that's kind of that's definitely a difference between paid and volunteer right there.
Yeah.
Is you're gonna have a guy, and I'm assuming you're gonna have your firefighter on the front of the nozzle, and you're gonna have the
Hmm.
officer backing them up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Which now volunteer, you may or may not have two guys that just
Exactly.
passed fire one last week,
Yeah.
both on the nozzle making a push,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
which you can't help that. You can't
Hmm.
help that with just not the same manpower. But I mean that kind of with the paid side, that kind of you can control the chaos a little bit.
Yeah.
At least you know
Yeah.
that you have a guy that's making the push that kind of has a good idea what he's doing,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna lie to you, man. The first time you get on a working fire and you go inside it, it doesn't matter how many times you've seen guys do it. When you go inside, you're like,
Yeah.
holy shit! You're like, this is
Yeah.
real.
Yep.
This is real. I think that the public's impression of house fires is very unrealistic due to
Yeah.
the fact that we have
Yeah.
shows,
Totally.
you got Rescue Me, you got
Yeah.
Chicago Fire. Don't be wrong, I like Chicago Fire, but I am still yet to go in a house fire and me be able to look from one side of the room to the other.
Yeah. Exactly.
It just don't
Exactly.
happen.
Nope, it doesn't.
If you can see your hand in front of your face, you're lucky.
Yeah. Very lucky.
Okay, Larry. So obviously, you promoted up to
Hmm.
you promoted up in Morgantown. So
Yeah.
with your volunteer side, so how was that experience? I mean, I know that you guys had good bit of guys down there. Good bit of guys, a good bit of experience at Brookhaven when you
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
when you first started out down there. So about how long were you a regular firefighter there before you thought about wanting to promote?
It was several years.
Okay.
I'd say it was at least 5, 6, 7 years. And then in 1988, Jimmy Lipscomb became chief, and I was his assistant chief for years when
Okay.
we reigned together. And then we were fortunate that we worked in town together, and they were like, since you two know each other so well, we're sticking you on ladder rescue and forgetting about you. And we were good with that because I think we counted up
Yeah.
we ran ladder and rescue for like 6 years, 6 or 8 years together.
Wow.
And then 2005 we deployed to Louisiana after Hurricane Katrina together. And
Yeah,
that
that's awesome. So tell me a little bit about that real quick. I'm sure people would love to hear
our,
that, man.
our son played hockey out of Pittsburgh at that time, and we were literally backing out our driveway to go to Boston. And Jimmy was living next door at that time, and he runs up and he tells me what's going on. He said, "Are you interested in going?" I said, "Sure, I'll go with you." So I get to
You just
Boston.
made that decision on a whim like that, huh?
Yeah.
Your
So
wife probably about smacked the shit out of you, didn't she?
yeah. So we get to Boston, and the city calls. Hey, now it's our turn. See what that is. Ah, I lost you. Okay. Uh, sounds like we're assisting the same person we went out to Marjorie Gardens yesterday with. But
I didn't even know that you went.
yeah, I think they ended up canceling us because I was at work. But we get to Boston, the city calls me and says, I need you to come in and sign paperwork for FEMA. And I'm like, I'm in Boston. I said, I'll be back Monday. And I said, you can fax it if you want. So we get through the weekend and we're coming home that Monday. And Jimmy calls me and says, hey, the guys from Clarksburg just left. I said, Jimmy, I'm still 3 hours from home, buddy.
Yeah.
So we get home and nothing happened that night. Get to work the next morning and Chief Fetty stopped over and goes to his office. It wasn't 5 minutes. He called. He said, you two need to get over here right now, get paperwork signed, and get on an airplane by 10 o'clock. And we're like, there's no way in hell. So Max Humphreys was our main fire marshal. He said, give me that list you have from FEMA, and I'll have it all here by 10 o'clock. So he really went out and busted his rear end and got everything we needed. And I think we ended up getting on the plane around noon or 2 o'clock, fly to Pittsburgh, and then from Pittsburgh to Atlanta, Georgia for our initial training. So we got through that, and we had to drive to Orlando, Florida for more training. And once we got that completed, we flew from Orlando to Baton Rouge. And when we landed, there was one commercial plane on that tarmac. It was all Black Hawk helicopters.
Wow.
So we worked out of Baton Rouge for a few days doing day trips, and we stayed in a tent camp across the Mississippi from Baton Rouge, and there were thousands of us there in those tents. And once we got our assignment, we ended up in Thibodaux, Louisiana, which is halfway between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. And we emptied a department store and set up and helped operate a disaster recovery center. And we were putting several thousand people a day through.
Wow. Yeah, I'm sure the devastation was just
a lot
insane.
of them we were able to help, and I mean that was good that we could get down and actually help people, and made a lot of friends. So I keep telling my wife I'm gonna take her to Louisiana sometime. But the people were phenomenal, and they were like, "Do you guys need anything?" And we're like, "We're here to help you. Yeah, you know, we appreciate the offer, but we're here to see what we can do for you guys." But it was definitely a unique experience, and I will say the federal government does pay you pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a couple guys. Now I know Jimmy. Jimmy went out to California a couple different times with some of the forest fires out. Did you ever go out with them or no?
No.
No. Not a wildland guy.
Yeah, I never even considered that. And I know Roger Osborne goes out every year, and God bless him. But, you know, that's, I told Jimmy, I said, I'd consider going. I said, but I'm not walking 3 or 4 miles and then going to work. I said, so, but yeah, he's done it several times, and he talked about it when he retired. He said, hey, I'm thinking about going back out west. I said, well, if you decide to go back with FEMA, let me know. I said, I'll do that.
He said, I'm not going out there walking for fun.
Yeah, oh, jeez.
Yeah, man, those guys, that's a totally different animal right there, man. That really is.
That's some hardcore stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they're not walking a straight line across the gym floor, you know, they're walking up the side of mountains.
Yep. Yep, and they're hiking miles in sometimes.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. All right, man, so how do you see any differences between okay, so being a lieutenant at paid fire department, you know, obviously you have some administration duties there a little bit, but you know, on the volunteer side, not really so much. I don't know how you guys really operate. I mean, I know that our lieutenants really aren't really responsible for paperwork and stuff. Most of the chief really handles that, the assistant chief. But how did you feel like the responsibility? Like, did you feel like you had more of a responsibility on the fire ground being a paid lieutenant versus volunteer? Or did you not really see a difference?
There's not a whole lot of difference. I mean, as a lieutenant, you were responsible for doing all the run sheets for your station, and days you had to step up and be acting captain. You had to do all that administrative paperwork.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't figure that there was very much of a difference, obviously. I mean, guys at the end of the day, I don't think if it really matters if it's especially guys that really want to be there. It doesn't matter if you're paid or if you're volunteer. Normally, if the lieutenant's like, hey.
Yeah, the nice thing with being paid is by 8 o'clock in the morning, you knew who you had, and you knew who you were going to be riding with that shift. And you know yourself with the volunteer service, you never know who you're going to get.
Well, that's true. That is true. See, I don't know. I mean, at one point though, it's kind of gotten to the point to where you have like you don't obviously none of us are paid on the volunteer side, but you
Hmm.
still normally always have those 5 people that you know that are going to
Yeah,
show up.
you've got your core.
Yeah, that's true right there. You know that normally you have that guy that no matter what, he's going to show up on the call.
Yeah, exactly. If they're
Uh,
available, they're going to be there.
right, and it's kind of weird that it's gotten to that point because I only been in this about 6 years now,
Hmm.
and I have my wife's grandpa and them that tell me that I don't know about how it was back in Brookhaven back in the day, but that they used to have a waiting list to get in.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they
And
used to have
back,
a wait list, and now we couldn't beg people to join.
I know. Well, back then, and I knew we weren't supposed to do this back then, but we were having trouble getting adults, and we had junior firefighters that was doing structural firefighting.
Oh, see, the way you get around that is you just say allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly you guys did that. Yeah,
Allegedly. I mean,
yeah,
there were times when we first started out, there'd be 6 or 8 of us at the station waiting on someone to come drive us to the call.
right. Yeah, now you're lucky if you have 8 guys show up for a structure fire.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, the big
Yeah.
fire we had in Hope Gardens, it was Matt on the engine by himself, and I had the squad by myself. And a
Wow.
third firefighter met us there for like the first 10, 15 minutes. We were it. And fortunately, just as the next engine rolled in, we ran out of water. So they got us hooked back up real quick and got everything taken care of. But that was a long hard day right there. But it's probably 2 miles from my house, and when I come out the front door to get my truck, I'm like, oh yeah, I can see it.
So,
So
all right, Larry. I had a question in the chat. You were going, so I didn't stop you. Brandon Daft,
yeah,
which is a guy. Yeah, Brandon. I had him on last. He wanted to know about your first set of gear, what it consisted of.
it was a cotton duck bunker coat that was chemically treated to be heat resistant, and you couldn't wash them because it would wash the heat resistance out. Then your boots, like I said, they were the 3/4 boots that rolled down and you pulled them up to mid thigh, put your coat on that hung down to your knees, uh, ear flaps on your helmet because we didn't have Nomex hoods or anything like that, and then a plastic top guard MSA top guard helmet that would melt.
Yeah, all that made sense back in the day, right?
Yeah, it did.
Honestly,
It
the
did.
shit was about a one use if you got in a good fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. As times have changed,
Yeah. And yeah, I'd been out for a while. And when Brookhaven got their squad, Jimmy said, I need somebody to run it through the day. And I said, I can do that. And went through everything with him and all the equipment. And I come home and I told Lisa, I said, my God, how technology has changed. I said, it's unbelievable.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it, though, man, technology kind of had to change. I mean, these
Yeah.
fires. Not to take anything away from you guys, and I've even asked guys at our department, that's been there for a long time. That's I'm like, you think our fires now are any harder to fight?
Oh,
And I think
absolutely.
And they're like, well, I don't know about that, but I'm like, they gotta be. They
Yeah.
gotta be, man. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys weren't dealing with this plastic made bullshit
No, no.
that had, a million chemicals mixed in with it.
Yeah.
I mean, when you guys went in and you guys threw a damn coffee table out of the way, it'd probably take about 2 people to throw it. You
Yeah.
know? I
Yeah.
mean,
And I
stuff was
mean,
built.
when we started, yeah, the homes were really built well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just like the stick construction they do now, and everything's held together with gusset plates. They were actually constructed real well, and the fire didn't spread near as fast as it does now.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen
back,
some research where it said like 40, used to be like 42 minutes in a two-story
yeah,
farmhouse. Used to be like 42 minutes. And
yeah,
now it's down to about like below 7, something like
yeah,
that. Below
yeah,
7 minutes in the house would
like
be fully
6 to 7
involved.
minutes, right? Right.
Which is insane, right? To think that
Mm-hmm.
a house, a two-story farmhouse, would
Could
be gone in
go
about
up that
7 minutes.
fast. Yeah. Well, again, our big call in Hope Gardens, when I pulled in and gave the size up, I told Mecca, I said, I can't tell how many structures we have involved. I said, I know there's at least 3.
Yeah. Well, I
Well,
mean, uh, if
somebody
you
answered
go,
up for us.
if you go, yeah, if you go off of the reason why it goes off, if you go off the app, it
Yeah.
takes your camera away. That's why it does that.
Okay. Yeah.
What was I gonna say? So the Bon Vista fire. So it kind of takes
Hmm.
you back to the Bon Vista fire a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
that's is that an '80s build, early '90s build?
I'm thinking that's an early to mid '80s build.
Okay. So
So no
I mean,
sprinklers.
right. Yeah, no sprinklers. That
Yep.
kind of chasing your tail fire right there, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing back then was the open cock loft through the attic. That it's open from one end to the other. There's no fire stops. That would have been
Right.
hugely helpful that day.
Yeah, you probably would have been able to contain it to the right side of
Yeah.
apartments.
Yeah.
I mean, I got there a little bit late. I got there maybe like about 20 minutes after probably the initial call came out.
Hmm.
And by the time I got there, we went to the left side apartments, and me and a couple guys from Granville went in, and we started pulling the roof, and we're like, "Holy shit!" Then shit, 10 minutes later, you went into that apartment.
Yeah.
You would have thought that it was a totally different fire, because I
Absolutely.
mean,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
it she really made a run for it.
Yes, it did.
I don't know if I ever seen that the fire marshal. I don't think I've ever seen the report on that. Where they said the actual cause of that was.
The last I talked to one of the marshals, he said there's several different insurance companies involved in this. So he said until everybody can get together and complete the investigation, he can't say anything.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah. Because I mean, if he says something, and then the one insurance company comes back and says, "Whoa, whoa, whoa,"
Right, right.
right? Yeah, you kind of gotta. Uh, at the end of the day, that may be a undetermined.
Yeah,
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 that may be an undetermined because no matter
yeah.
which way you put that, yeah.
Hmm.
So so I think the woman said allegedly it was her birthday. She was spending time with her dog. Decided she was going to go to the pool. Went to the pool. I believe she. Hold on. Sorry. I think she was at the pool. Came back. Spent about 10 minutes with her dog.
Hmm.
Went back out to the pool and heard people screaming.
Hmm.
She said she wasn't in at the pool longer than 5 minutes and
Yeah,
came running back over and about flames coming out
yeah,
the door.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I don't
And
know.
listening to it, I'm like, they're going to call us eventually.
Yeah, yeah, that's a big one right there, man.
Yep. Well, we got lucky. We had three people on our engine that day, and then as more straggled in, they brought the squad and then brought the other engine.
Yeah, we I tell you what, man, it's so funny because Mon County is like a big city department in the way all these fire departments because you get a big fire, they literally
Hmm.
drop the entire city on it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
we don't really mess around with that. I mean, we'd rather have too many people there,
yeah.
have people standing around
Hmm.
than not have enough and you're sitting here about
Right, right.
killing your guys, you know?
Hmm.
So yeah, I think we did a pretty good job handling that.
Hmm.
I know they wind up. It's so funny. It's so funny because it doesn't matter how good of a job you do these days in these structures. They're built so cheaply that they wind
Yeah,
up still going and tearing them down anyways.
yeah. Absolutely,
You
absolutely.
spend 4 hours fighting a fire for them to come in and take 10 minutes and go and just wipe the place out.
Right, right. And along with that technology, I mean, the vehicles back when I started were so well constructed. Extrications
Oh
were a
yeah,
bitch because it was a lot heavier metal,
absolutely.
and now you
Yeah.
can literally just peel them apart.
Right. So yeah, that's a good question. So I actually took a vehicle extrication, or I'm sorry, I took
Hmm.
a bus extrication class this last
Yeah.
weekend, and so they brought up about using air chisels.
Hmm.
So when you first started out in the volunteer and also started out as a paid guy, were you guys using Hearst rescue tools, or were you guys still using air tools like chisels and
Well, actually, the first set of extrication tools Brookhaven got, we got with the new squad a year ago, August. And then
we'll talk
I
about that
came,
because that still blows my mind about like stuff like
yep.
that. But
And I can't remember when the city got their first set. But yeah, we were doing extrications basically with hand tools.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's I've heard some different episodes and some different podcasts and stuff, and some of these earlier guys talk about how. But I mean that kind of metal back then, they said that if you had a guy that was really experienced in vehicle extrication, he could have a vehicle chopped up with that air chisel in no time.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
He
No
can
less,
really put some work in.
no more than 5 or 10 minutes, and it'd be tore apart.
Yeah, which
Yeah, and when I started with EMS had the only set of extrication tools in the county. So now I think literally every department's got a set.
yeah, I think so now. At least from what I've seen.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah. So how were vehicle accidents? So I'll ask you about that. How were vehicle accidents back then compared to now? Even as better built back then. I know that
Yeah.
there's different safety features. Even though the
Yeah.
vehicles maybe built a little bit better back then. I
Yeah.
mean, the safety wasn't always built. You know what I mean? They didn't really give a
Right.
shit about you. They
Well,
just
yeah,
wanted a car to hold up.
we were wearing just lap seatbelts. That was it.
Right.
Nothing over your shoulder. Didn't have to worry about unibody construction. These things were built just solid.
Right.
And back then, allegedly, if it was a fluid spill on the road, it got hosed off into the ditch.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, those were now. Yeah.
and now, and I'm all about protecting the environment and the
Sure.
wildlife, but it's just how we did things back then.
Yeah,
And
back then they used to tell you smoking was probably good too, huh?
what's that?
Said back then they probably also most people thought smoking was good for them.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, didn't matter career or volunteer. You come out from a structure fire, it's the first thing they did was light up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't understand it, but whatever. You do you, and I'll do me.
Yeah, yeah. I still hear of guys telling me, no, this, you said it was called a demand mask.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys had that, and now what did the city? So Scots, were Scots a newer thing
Yeah,
because I mean I know MSA's been around for a long time,
yeah. I
like
think that's
World
all
War
I've ever
II kind of.
used. I've used MSA mostly, and then I think some hazmat work we were using Draeger
Draeger, okay.
for a while.
Yeah, Draeger's kind of, especially now, kind of a.
Yeah, and the technology with these air masks now just blows my mind.
Yeah, the price blows my mind too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the price you pay for it, trust me. But
Absolutely.
we still have a bunch of the old I call them elephant masks.
Yeah, yeah.
The old elephant mask, and I used to have guys that used to tell me that they used to allegedly once they would run out of air, they put it in their pocket.
Yeah,
and they continue to fight fire.
Tuck it down inside your coat. Yeah, those are
Yep.
the old belt-mounted regulators.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a lot of experience with those. And then, of course, and it's a little bit better now, but in a way it restricted your movement with that hose because if you kink it, you don't get air.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of the first things I learned before our first structure fire I was allowed in was how to unhook that belt-mounted regulator and get that stuff down inside your coat.
Yeah, I used to have guys that used to tell me that back in the day when they first started to introduce these the air packs in a hole, we used to have guys that it took guys 5-10 years to even convince them to put it on.
Yeah.
Because they were like, I'm not putting this shit on. What do you mean? Like we've been fighting fire for a long time. But as technology started to go, then they started to use more artificial stuff. And you go into a fire these days without an air mask on, give or take 10-15 seconds, somebody's gonna be dragging you out of the house.
Yeah, you're gonna be drug out. And our packs back then, we had the steel bottles.
Okay.
On our packs, so
we still have a couple steel bottles there.
Yep, when the composites came around, those were great because you lug that thing around for about a half hour, and you've done something.
Yeah, man. I picked up a couple of steel bottles. My wife, it's funny because like she told me that when she went and took her Fire One, that she took hers in a steel bottle.
Oh,
she
really?
Said she felt like having 2 feet on her back standing on top of her walking
Hmm.
around. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
I couldn't believe it until she told me. So what the hell kind of stuff? What kind of fire department running here? Still having people run steel bottles. Um, but so we've actually went to aluminum bottles. We've actually got away
Okay.
from the composites. There's a slight difference in the weight. I mean, it's definitely heavier. You can tell. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I mean, you kind of got to get over it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and
Um,
I'm glad to see with the mall that Granville has a really good proficient police department and fire department now. So
Yeah,
I'm
so
really happy about
I
that.
think everybody's, so that's the thing, man, is I remember, being a kid and the biggest thing around here was the city of Morgantown.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm sure same with you. And I mean, I'm sure that back then, city of Morgantown was, if you had to go do something really, I mean, I knew you had these small mom and pop shops, but like
Hmm.
downtown was
Yep.
that was a booming spot, man.
Downtown was it, man.
So I mean, I'm sure that you know, you work in downtown. I mean, these guys probably now. Okay, so you started out in the '80s, and what about how long was it until you? I can't remember. How long did you say until you went paid? About how many
Uh,
years difference?
Started EMS in 1980 and became a city firefighter in '88.
'88. Okay,
Mhm.
so you throw it across the country at that same time. You had a good bit of fires going on.
Yeah.
Now, did you guys ever feel like you guys had like some war years? You feel like you
Oh
had a
yeah.
lot more fires going on then than
Yeah.
ever?
The years through Sunnyside. I mean, it didn't matter if they won or lose. Sunnyside was going to burn, and
Yeah, the
we would
goalposts to go with
literally
it.
have to get in through the crowd, and you stood back to back with your helmet strapped on because they'd run up and just take the helmet off your head and keep it.
What the heck?
And yeah, we took rocks, we took bottles, you name it, they'd throw it at us.
That's awful, man.
Oh,
That's
it
awful.
was yeah, it was bad. I mean, we had some guys that got hurt, and one just came within an inch of losing his eye when he got hit with a rock.
Oh, to go down there and do your job, right?
Yeah.
Just so somebody can
Yep.
go down there and have a good time and act like an asshole,
Yep. And then eventually somebody decided it was a good idea to
huh?
bring those big commercial dumpsters in,
Yeah.
and they would set them right underneath the power lines. And it got so bad the power company said, if another one goes up, we're cutting the line until they're out of here, and then we'll put it back up. But I rolled out of downtown one night on rescue, and that's when we were out of the old Wiles Hill station, and we were up on Grant Avenue somewhere. So I'm coming down South High, and I yell at engine 3, and I said, "What's your location?" And he told me, and I said, "Turn around and look about 4 blocks behind you." So they set one on fire and then just went straight down the street and set a second one. And it got so bad at times there were people coming through and dumping gasoline in them and taking off, and then somebody come behind them and light them.
What the heck, man? They just to do it, huh?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then back then they would shut Grant Avenue down from Campus Drive to Third Street and just let the students take it.
It just wasn't even worth putting up a fight at that point, huh?
Oh no, no. But yeah, it was nasty.
That's crazy. Yeah, I've heard some of the stories about how wide it used to get down there.
Hmm.
But it's kind of things have changed, man. It seems like honestly, I think it's because kids are too lazy these days.
Yeah, yeah. I do too.
Yeah,
They don't seem to be as energetic or creative as they were at one time.
yeah, they think, yeah, they now, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's just that they'd rather just stay down at the bars and drink rather
Yeah.
than go hang out outside. It seems like that's a problem that we have with a lot of this generation, including my generation. I'm 28, but then
Hmm.
even some people that are younger than me, man. Is I think that's why the fire department's struggling so much is because these kids, man, they either say,
Yeah.
"What is it? What's in it for me?"
Yeah. Exactly.
or they'd rather
Exactly.
just stay. They
And
just got so used to saying, "Well, somebody will show up."
yeah. Yeah, and if I can give anyone advice, and it's not, I guess from what I'm hearing, it's not like that at the city of Morgantown anymore, but that kitchen table was vital to us. I mean, the kitchen and that kitchen table, that's where your team is built. And
Yeah,
that's where you actually sit, and through the job at that table, you become brothers.
yeah,
We'd set up Friday and Saturday nights till 2 or 3 in the morning playing cards at the table. Or we'd sit
yeah,
there and talk or sit there and watch TV together. But, it really builds your teamwork. So, if you're in a station with a kitchen table, sit around that thing and talk. Talk to the older guys.
yeah.
Work with the newer guys.
Yeah, man. I don't know. You would think with the paid side, you think it would still kind of guys would
You
almost
would,
feel forced to
you
keep
would,
that tradition, right? I
yeah,
mean,
you would think, and literally every shift, and especially on the weekends, we'd cook together, eat together. Everybody chipped in. You learned how to clean, you learned how to cook, you learned how to be a team player because you didn't have a choice. If you didn't like that station, or didn't get along with someone, you couldn't say, "Well, I don't like this station. I'm going somewhere else." No, you went where the captain told you were going, and
right,
it was up to you and the other people to work it out amongst yourselves.
right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can tell you what, man. I would think that Friday, Saturday nights, we have a pretty good, relationship still in our fire
Yeah,
department. I mean, especially after a call, it's nothing for guys to stay after 30, 45 minutes, an
yeah,
hour,
yeah.
and sit there and hold on a sec. Sorry, my monitor. I sat here so long, my monitor turned off and switched to my other monitor.
Oh wow.
I just didn't move.
Yeah, the most respectful crowd we ever had at my time at Morgantown was, and I would always sit up and watch news at 11 o'clock to see what was going on.
Hmm.
And President Obama had announced Osama bin Laden had been killed. So I immediately turned all the lights on the station and told guys, "Get up, we're leaving." They're like, "We didn't hear a call." I said, "Wait for it." But I can't tell you how many calls we ran that night. But once we got in, and of course everybody's cheering USA, USA, the crowd would part, let us go in and do our job, and
Hmm.
let us get out. So very respectful crowd that night.
That's awesome, man. Because it's that was a weird time. That was a
Yeah,
really weird time when Osama
yeah,
got killed because I know that was like 9/11 was
hmm,
probably one of the biggest shell shockers I think to anybody
yeah,
because I felt like we always had this sense of uh, you know I don't want to say untouchable, but maybe in a sense that we kind of thought that we weren't like somebody just couldn't come in here and hop on a
yeah,
plane
yeah,
and take
yeah.
it down.
Well,
Um,
a good friend of mine was a battalion chief in Brooklyn, and I knew he was working that morning. And his son was a dispatcher, and I finally got a hold of his son. He said, "Dad's working, but he's okay."
well,
Which I
that's
had
that's
just come
good.
off shift at 8 o'clock that morning and come home, and I was just messing around the house. And my wife calls me and she said, "Are you watching TV?" I said, "No." I said, "I'm busy." She said, "Turn it on." I said, "What channel?" She said, "It doesn't matter."
It
So
doesn't
I
matter. That's
spent
not
hours
good.
trying to log on to Broadcastify to listen to New York City, but once I did, I sat there and listened to it all night long from the ground zero traffic.
Yeah, I could not imagine to put myself in those guys' shoes, man.
Yeah,
That was, I
yeah,
mean, to know, I think a lot of those guys knew that once they got, I mean, obviously the guys that weren't, downtown, they
hmm,
kind of didn't know the extent of it. I mean, just as
yeah,
well as I do. You
yeah,
hear size up sometimes, and some of the size up sounds like the whole damn block's on fire.
yeah,
And you get there, and you maybe got a little bit of fire coming out of one upstairs window.
yeah. And when I
But
was studying for lieutenant at Morgantown, I would lock myself in the office and listen to the audio tapes from 9/11 to just give me the motivation to get through those books. But you hardly ever hear New York City firefighters scream, and you never see them run. And that's two things they did that day.
well, yeah, man. I mean, those guys, like I said, I think once they got there, some of those guys that really had a lot
Hmm.
of experience said,
Yeah,
"Holy shit!
yeah,
Like this is not something that's gonna be put out easy." And then as it
no,
kept going, I think a lot of them realized it's not gonna get put out at all.
Yep. And I don't think a lot of people realize that happened right at shift change in New York City. So
I
literally,
didn't know that.
yeah, they were on the 6 p.m. to 9 a.m. tour, and literally every station in the city had twice the amount of people that it would normally have.
That kind of worked out, huh?
Yeah, that's how it worked out. I mean, they were hanging on the sides of the tire ladders. They were on tailboards. They'd commandeered city buses. Just anything to get down to it.
Yeah, and then you had guys that were off shift that just got called in,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and they kind of got there however they could. But then the
However
problem
they could get there, right?
is
Right.
once that all started, I mean, they shut down the island. So then,
Yeah.
that. But then you had guys running. Oh man, I can't remember what the guy's name is. I've read that story like 1,000 times. Of the guy running
Yeah.
like a mile and a half through the tunnel.
Through the tunnels to get there. Yeah.
Yes, I remember that story. And anytime somebody talks about like 9/11, it always pops in my head, which is kind of
Hmm.
pisses me off. I can't remember his name now.
Yeah.
But I think something like I said, I think that at the time people didn't think like obviously those guys deal with some fires up there that none of us will
Yeah.
could ever
Yeah.
begin to
And
understand.
and up to that point, there had never been a collapse of a high-rise building due to fire.
Right.
But and something a lot of people again don't realize is New York City lost the majority of their leadership that day, from the chief on down.
Right. So I've also read some things where now, if anything ever happened like that again, they've always said that you won't. There's a lot of guys that went that
Yeah.
now would not have
Yeah.
went
Yeah.
because they couldn't
Yeah.
afford to lose that much talent because I mean they
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
started from the
Well,
ground up trying to
I think
rebuild the fire department.
I think Chief Gansey and Chief Downey actually made it through the collapse of the first building, and they refused to leave. They said, I'm not leaving until we get these guys out of here."
Yeah.
And Chief Feehan that day, he was 70 some years old as a deputy commissioner. And they said just the wealth of knowledge the man had, you just can't replace it. Terry Hatton from Rescue 2 was Cap, and he was the up and coming star. His wife worked for Mayor Giuliani, and everybody said he was going to be chief one day. They said there was no doubt in their mind. The senior man they lost that day was on Rescue 2. It was Joe Angelini. He was 63 years old and had 40 years on the job. He was facing mandatory retirement, and one of the guys asked him, said, "Joe," he said, "how long would you stay if you could?" He said, "I'd like to do 50 years. And I'm like, I can't imagine that in New York City.
No, man, because I mean, those
And
guys.
they said he could outwork 20-year-olds, 63 years old, smoked like a fiend. But yeah, it was in his heart.
Man, it's so crazy because I mean, it doesn't matter really. I mean, how good a shape you think you're in.
Yeah.
Put you in a high-rise building,
Yeah.
make you walk up 20 stories with just an air pack on.
Yeah.
Imagine these guys that had an air pack on.
Oh yeah.
Took a set of irons with them. Also
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
a high-rise pack thrown on their shoulder.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking
carrying extra bottles, hooks,
carrying extra bottles hooked on them. Yeah, man.
One of the funny stories from Morgantown is you're familiar with the Towers dormitories in Evansdale. So we'd get an alarm there, and whoever's going up the stairway, the guys outside are betting on what floor they have to stop on to take a break. So at least WVU through the summer when the kids aren't there, we did a lot of training in those buildings. Yeah, you get familiar with the layouts of them.
But that's good. I mean, I think somebody asked me the other day when I was doing one. I think I can't remember if it was the first episode I did or if it was the one with Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
Or somebody asked me if how paid firefighters treat it like a craft. No,
yeah,
that was it. And then volunteers treat it like a hobby.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Right, and what I said is Well, if somebody is at station for 24 hours and they're
Mm-hmm.
not doing any training, there's something
Yeah.
wrong there.
Yeah.
But if you have a
Yeah.
guy that just works 12-hour shifts,
Yeah. Yeah.
and gets off work and then still goes and does the training, I mean, not that I respect one more than the other, but I kind of got
Mm-hmm.
to throw a little more respect to the guy that just worked 12 hours at his day job.
Right.
And
Right.
instead of going home to his
Right.
family, he's going and doing
They're
this
in
for
station
nothing.
training. Yeah.
Right.
And I was fortunate at Morgantown. I really had some outstanding training captains. And my last year before I retired, John Lumley was my driver. And I carried an officer's Halligan tool. I carried that thing on medical calls. And that's I try to reiterate to people: don't come off that truck empty-handed. Have something in your hands.
Yeah.
It got to the point that I come in one day and he looked at me and says, "ALT, I mounted your tool by your door on the truck." So I'm
That's
like, "Thanks,
awesome.
man." But John Lumley was probably the best trainer or instructor I'd ever been around.
He
And I've been around some really talented instructors, but he's in a league of his own. And then I know a lot of people talk about Bernie Moyers, but I tell you what, Bernie has passed a lot of knowledge on to a lot of people.
Well, I think it's I just had Bernie teach over the summer. He taught my EVOC class. And I
Okay.
mean, even to sit down with 2 minutes with a guy, he could tell you probably 100 stories. You know what I mean? He's
Oh
probably
yeah.
got
Yeah.
100,000 more. Um, I think the thing that a lot of us young guys see, and I have a ton of respect for him. I think that a lot of us young guys kind of look at him and say, "Man, look at this old man." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Look at this old
Yeah.
man. But you guys really got to see him back in the day in his prime.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You
Yeah. And I
know?
was fortunate because I had Everett Perkins as an instructor. I had JT Hodges and some of that crowd. My rescue training came from Brad Dean, Eddie Albin, Jim Atkins, Danny Fernandez, Bill Ramsey. I mean, just some icons in the rescue service. And I had the privilege and the pleasure of being trained by them. And one of the most important things anyone ever said to me, especially in the fire service, is it goes against human nature, but don't get excited. You know, it's not your house. It's not my house. When it is, then we'll talk about getting excited, but stay calm. Because, and we've all heard it when someone's on the radio and they're just excited, that adrenaline level just goes up on everybody.
Oh, dude, it
So
causes
tell them
pure
relax and slow
chaos.
down.
It does. It causes complete pure chaos, man.
Oh, it does. It does.
Yeah,
And we've all seen it.
yeah. It's kind of crazy. Like from a lot of podcasts that I've listened to and stuff. A lot of
Yeah.
FDNY guys. I
Yeah.
still listen to podcasts all the time. It's called the Getting Salty podcast. It's
Yeah.
got yeah. So you know about what I'm talking about. And they
Yeah.
talk about how when they first started out and they go in and they're sweating bullets, and the
Oh, yeah.
senior man that they're with is sitting here like he's taking a damn stroll through the park, and this place
Yeah.
is roaring inside. And
Yeah.
they said that like
Yeah.
that's how you know somebody, you know, really knows what the hell they're doing when
Mm-hmm.
they're standing here
Yeah.
perfectly fine, not sweating
Yep.
one bit, very
Absolutely.
controlled. And because
Yep.
that chaos, man, it causes you to get that tunnel vision. You
Yeah.
don't start thinking
Absolutely.
about things that's going on around you. You kind of
Absolutely.
you
Absolutely.
in your head, all you're thinking is, I gotta put fire out. I gotta put
Yeah.
fire out. But you're not
Yep.
thinking about the fact that the damn roof's about to fall in 10
Yep.
feet in front of you, about
Yep.
the fact that the room is showing
Right.
signs that it's going to flash.
People don't think about controlling the utilities, the electric and the gas. Yeah, and that's
No,
just as
that is a
vital as
huge thing.
yeah, yeah. And since
That is
Brandon's
huge.
watching, one person I have to mention is Lloyd Lehman. And I know a lot of people in the fire service now aren't familiar with the man, but he was the police chief of Parkersburg, West Virginia, got hired as a fire chief. His first fire, he didn't say a word. Went back to his office and wrote the standards of firefighting now.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta agree with you though. I think that that's one big thing. I don't know how you guys operate or used to over at Morgantown,
Mm-hmm.
but do you guys have one guy on the engine, or I guess that'd probably be a truck duty to go take care of the
Hmm.
utilities? But you guys have one guy on the truck that's what he does when he gets there, goes takes care of utilities.
Usually, the officer in charge, once he starts making assignments, he'll assign someone to control the utilities.
Um, See, I think that's one thing that I can honestly say just by kind of sitting back and uh,
Hmm.
that I do see a big issue with volunteer fire companies. I
Yeah,
can't say, and I'm not riding a high horse here. I don't think that we probably do very much better than anybody else does. I think that's
yeah,
probably one of the huge faults is we get this tunnel vision when we get on there, and it's like we gotta put the fire out. We
yeah,
gotta put the fire out,
yeah,
and we forget about some of the other things like you know getting random people out of the collapse zone, taking care
yeah,
of the utilities. I
yeah.
mean, because sometimes you're 10 minutes in, 10, 15 minutes into the fire and
Right,
utilities still
right,
aren't off.
right. And once I got hired at the city and we started doing our building tours and our training, some of those basements had huge electrical vaults in them.
Okay.
So and those were always a big consideration.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I used to start before I even got into the volunteer side of it and stuff.
Yeah,
Before I even did really anything, I was still around for. I think I was around for probably 2 years, kind of just hanging out
yeah.
and stuff. And I used to
Hmm.
always ask my wife, I'm like, because I've been
No,
with some paid companies and stuff, and I'm like, why don't you
yeah,
guys do this way? Why don't you guys do this way? And blah 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 blah. Like, because and it's still kind of confusing me in a certain way, like that uh, we don't kind of give good assignments when we get on
right,
scene. You know what
right.
I mean? And I'm sure you
Yeah,
can still say that, like, and I see it all the time. Is uh, it's very hard sometimes for the incident commander to think ahead.
yeah,
It is,
yeah,
man. And I don't know if sometimes maybe that's just an experience thing or it's just there's a lot going on and you're trying to
yeah,
focus on stuff. But
yeah,
that's one thing that I can say that I've really seen with a lot of big cities is the incident commander is really really good about giving assignments.
yeah, yeah.
Because I can't tell you how many times I went on fires and it's like pure chaos.
Hmm.
You have 15, 20 guys going inside of a trailer.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't need 15, 20 guys
No,
going inside of a trailer,
no,
you know?
no. And again, that's where you should have someone designated for access control. You
Yeah,
don't go in unless that person knows you're in there.
right.
And again, doing our building tours downtown, I didn't realize the basements in the building extend out to the street. And that
Oh, okay.
was back when they were coal fired and they would take deliveries through the basement. So they could
Okay,
just
that
park
makes
on the
sense.
street and throw it off. So we had to be really cautious and not park on the sidewalk.
Yeah, yeah. And that's one thing that I think eventually, I don't know if that's just an old school thing, man, where whenever guys would get on scene, they kind of, I feel like even if you do get an assignment, once that assignment's kind of done, then people kind of
Hmm.
freelance.
Yeah,
They don't go back to the incident commander and say, all right,
yeah,
utilities are shut off. What do you want me to do? They kind of
yeah,
just say,
exactly.
well, shit, I'm gonna go ahead and put a mask on and go inside.
Yeah,
The next
yeah.
thing you know, you turn around and, like I said, there's 15 guys inside of a trailer.
Hmm.
Well, you don't necessarily need 15 guys inside of a
No,
trailer. Maybe you need 4 guys inside of a trailer, 5 guys,
yeah,
and then you have your other guys sitting out here,
yep.
waiting for the other guys to come out and rehab.
Yeah, get your RIT team set up, get them ready to go.
And I think that it's one of those things where it goes back to the paid versus volunteer. The paid guys know they're there for another 12 hours.
Yeah,
They know that they're
yeah.
probably maybe going to get another call within then.
Oh,
Volunteer
absolutely.
it's hit or miss. So
Absolutely.
when guys go there, they say, "Well, shit, I ain't gonna sit on the lawn. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
sit on the lawn this fire and not get to do anything."
right.
So they kind of feel like, well, yeah, I'm gonna go get in on this. I didn't come
Hmm.
out here just to waste my time. So maybe that's something in the volunteer, department that we can maybe get into a little bit better is just maybe some pre-planning a little bit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we really got into that at Morgantown. And at one time, it was all on laptop computers. Any building 3 stories or higher, we would go out and pre-plan those buildings, and it was on the laptop in the truck. So you knew where the utilities were, you knew where the hookups were,
Yeah.
you knew the building layout, you knew the dimensions of it, you knew what type roof was on it, you knew the construction type.
Yeah.
So, and again, as volunteers, your training, go out and look at the buildings in your area. If a new business is being built, go look at it. Pre-plan that thing. So
Yeah.
we've got 84 lumber opening up, and we're going to have a real water supply issue over there.
Well, yeah, anything with that much wood, huh?
Yeah, that, and I think the closest hydrant's almost at Route 7.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we get an incident there, we're really going to mess things up in Rock Forge.
Well, it's maybe one of the things, like I said, you go back to it, you do a little bit of pre-plan and say, if we get a
Mm-hmm.
fire here, no matter what, we're having, this company bring a tanker, this company bring a tanker,
Yeah,
this company bring a
yeah,
tanker. That way, you're not on, that way you automatically know.
yeah.
Instead of saying, well, shit, let me get here. And then by the time you do get there, you're like, well, I need
Yeah.
3 tankers.
Well, we had the new gym built on Mayfield Road that we live on, and Jimmy immediately sat down and said, okay, he said, here's the assignment of us, Cheat Lake, Star City. I want tankers from Clinton, Cool Springs, Halleck, River Road. And then we're planning on we can stage them at the bottom of the hill on the church. And I told Jimmy have the next one pull in my driveway. Yeah. Then as soon as the first one comes down, he can back right out and get up. And it's real limited access up here.
Yeah, that's where you really run into it, man, is that limited access.
Yep. And I'm glad to see now that some departments are buying the smaller trucks with big pumps on them. And they can get into these areas.
I think that I've seen, well, I didn't see it, but I think one time I talked to one of the guys from Granville, and he said that they were going to buy some kind of a little custom job where, because they can't, it's hard for them to fit their engine down. There's some of the streets.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I don't know if that's still in the works, but I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't talked to Craig to check on it. Well, just saw Jason Nestor yesterday, but he didn't say anything.
He was in the chat a little bit ago, and he said,
okay.
What did he say? He said, Larry, hello, brother. I didn't see it because we were going on pretty good. But,
okay, yeah.
He wasn't here listening yet.
Yeah. Cool Springs did an excellent job getting their used Mini. I think, if I remember Terry telling me, it's a 1250 GPM pump.
That's enough fire. What, 300 gallon?
Yeah, I think it has a 300 tank on it. Which for a Mini, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that is pretty good. And
they did good. They bought it. I think it came from a department out of Maryland, and this thing just had supreme maintenance done on it all the time. And that's another area we sometimes lack at the volunteer service is getting these trucks maintained. That's you again, brother.
Oh, yeah. Fall greater than 10 feet, 37 sandstone hill. But, somebody will take care of it. Kenny can go take care of it. All right, Larry, so, what was, probably, what would you say, like, one of the biggest, like, shell shocks, I mean, just from when you first started out to when you left Morgantown, did you think that it was just that whole brotherhood kind of,
yeah.
Do you feel like that lack of the tradition continuing?
I miss the people. I really miss being around the people. And then, like I said, when Brookhaven bought their squad, Jimmy called me when it came in and said, my problem is I don't have anyone to run it through the day. And I said, well, Jimmy, I can run it through the day. And Zach said, well, good, your gear's in your locker. I said, thanks, buddy. But talked to my bosses at Lowe's and got certified through them as a first responder. And if it's a serious call, I can leave work.
Wow, that's good.
So
yeah, that's awesome, man.
Last week when we had the hazmat call out in Blacksville. So I actually met Jimmy and Adam at the station, and the three of us took off.
Yeah, that yeah, I remember listening to that. The recycling place out there caught.
Yeah, that ended up being about 10 or 15 feet inside Pennsylvania. And we
Wow.
took all
Okay.
that foam out, and their Greene County Emergency Management said, you can't use that. It's not environmentally friendly. So we're like, well, if we can't use it, we're going home.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
mean, what
long
are you
way
going to
back
do?
to
What are you going to do? Let it burn? You know?
Yeah, they put it out with water. And whatever it was burning, when it was on fire, it would turn molten. But once they hit it with water, it would solidify again.
Huh.
What are you doing there, Knucklehead?
Shouldn't that recycling place have had some kind of a an SDS sheet on what kind of material they
You
had
would have
there?
thought, but I don't know.
I mean,
That's something
I
I'll have
felt
to
like
check
that
on.
would be some kind of a violation right there. Uh,
Yeah,
I mean, because it's no different than a tanker truck carrying flammables down the interstate
yeah,
and wrecking, and
yeah.
us being like, well, where the plaque are at?
And from what I've heard, Pennsylvania's EPA guidelines are a lot more stringent than West Virginia.
Yeah, well,
But yeah, that was a mess. And literally, the only way they could put it out was to set the ladder pipes up.
and just hammer on her.
Yeah.
Huh. No, yeah, I heard about that. It looked like a decent
Yep.
little mess for sure. All right, Larry. Well, I got some questions for you, real quick.
Yes, sir.
So I don't keep on here all day. So give me just a second. I'll bring them up here. All right. So if you could go back and tell your rookie self one thing, what would it be?
Fell off the roof of the second story, landed on a patio.
Take better care of yourself and get in better condition. Because we lose far too many to heart attack and heart disease to begin with.
Yeah.
You know, exercise, take care of yourself, eat well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely. I think that's still the leading cause of firefighters is cardiac
Yeah.
arrest.
Yeah.
I don't know that that'll. I can't say that I think that'll ever change because
Mhm.
obviously not all of us are in the best shape, but I still think it's such a strenuous job.
Yeah.
You're putting so much stress on yourself at one time. The body can only take so much.
Yep.
But I
Yeah.
like.
And that's another thing. As things have progressed, our gear, literally our ears were our thermometers. So when your ears started to blister, you knew it was time to come out.
Yeah.
But now with the improvements, you feel that heat on your chest or your back first, and then you're in way too deep.
Yeah, you're way too deep at that point. Yeah. No, I
Mm-hmm.
understand that. I think it's only getting more dangerous. It's getting more
Yeah.
dangerous but safer at the same time because as
Yeah.
they keep building these places, I it's funny because there's way more regulations with building materials and stuff now than there was back then, but I still feel
Yeah.
like it was a lot safer back then than it is now. Because I mean, you have buildings that are built to the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And one little fail with
Yeah.
that building, and it all comes just Jenga
Yeah.
tower. I mean, back then you had guys that I mean, even if you look at a 2x4 now compared to back then.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you work at Lowe's, you know that. I mean,
Yeah.
huge difference there.
Yeah.
So
And back in, it was amazing the amount of damage a structure could take and stay intact. But now, literally, if one component fails, you can have a complete collapse.
absolutely. It's yeah, because I mean, just stick built houses these days, man.
Yeah.
With popsicle
Yeah.
sticks is about what they are, and you just
Yeah.
knock one of those popsicles out on the bottom, and it just
Yeah. And again, these housing developers are coming in so fast. Go out and look at them and see how they're made and how they're constructed. They're using so much of the aluminum gusset plates now to hold structural members together. And once they melt, they fail.
yeah.
And the buildings are just not designed to take the damage from fire now.
Right, which is kind of crazy because you think as
Yeah.
as fires got hotter. I mean, fires are burning now way hotter than they ever have,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and you would have thought that you would have wanted more support, not less.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, Larry.
But,
Well,
I mean, and that's how it is when you live in an area that don't have building codes or requirements.
yeah, that That I've been in some places where before where you look and you're like, what? And even places do have building codes. It doesn't mean that they're always, you know, being kept up to code.
Right, right.
And I mean that falls back to a lot of municipalities. There is that they're just really not. They don't care. They don't care. And
Yeah,
then after a
yeah,
fire, they go in there like, well, oh my god, this place is
yeah,
totally unsafe.
yeah. And once
Yeah,
COVID hit and the price of lumber just skyrocketed, and
it did.
I was talking to some of the contractors, and they said I've lost jobs because the price literally doubled.
Yeah, some houses that were 200,000 were almost $400,000 houses.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So getting into a dangerous time.
Yeah, yeah,
All right, Larry. Well, I
yeah.
got another one for you. This will be the last one.
Okay.
All right. So if you could be remembered for one thing, being a firefighter, what would it be? So like so
Uh,
in
not,
in one word, like if mine, for an example, is I like to
yeah,
be dependable.
yeah. Uh, I think I'd like to be remembered for not being an arrogant or bossy person, but treating everybody with respect, helping the new ones with guidance and information, help train them, and yeah, just keep that team and the brother and sisterhood going. Because that does mean a lot to me, being a part of the organization where people are so tight and close knit. Which, like I said, Jimmy and I have been together 40 some years. We've raised our families together. And same thing with Morgantown, especially the Mellies. We were all together on the weekends. We go out and do things, and we still do it at Brookhaven. We'll get together and say, hey, we're going to go do this today, or we're going to go do that. You just get together and have a good time. Build that bond.
Yeah, man. I tell you what, you know, there's such a there's definitely a brotherhood there, and it's
Oh
it's
yeah.
to the point to where it doesn't matter if you don't know anybody when you walk in that room. If you guys
Hmm.
both find out you guys are firefighters, you
Yeah.
instantly feel like you're connected in like
That's
this weird way. It's hard to explain.
yeah.
You honestly feel
That's
like you can kind of trust this guy.
that's one thing I learned early on. My wife's from Buffalo, New York,
Okay.
and I could literally go to any station and say, "Hey, I'm a visiting firefighter. Oh, come on in, have a seat,
Yeah.
sit down." Canada's the same way. Canadians love American firefighters. We were in Ireland a few years ago. I didn't have a chance to stop and talk to any of them, but I did talk to several of the Irish police officers. And it's the same thing that the respect is there.
Yeah, it's I, it's so funny. Like that I've talked to some guys, and I've even just taken classes with guys, and I
Oh
didn't know
yeah,
any,
yeah,
I never knew these guys from Adam. And you go in
yeah,
there, and it's
yeah.
just it's the same. It doesn't matter. It's the same ball busting, the same
Oh yeah,
bullshitting going on kind
yeah,
of thing, and it's like a boys club that no matter where you go, if you got one or two guys there all the way up to 10, it's the same feeling. You know,
yep,
it's
exactly.
it it's like I said, it's such a weird feeling to try to explain to other people that you don't
It
even
is.
have to know
It is.
somebody, but you know that this
No,
guy's a firefighter and you automatically feel connected.
yeah, absolutely.
But all right, Larry. So you got any? I know you threw out a bunch of names there. Is there anybody that you really want to give any shout outs to? Anybody that really helped you out, or that you feel like
Yeah,
really
I mean,
needs some
shout out to
recognition?
Jimmy because him and I've been together for so long. Yeah, met Brandon in our fire officer 1 and 2 class. Brandon's a top notch guy. I think a lot of him. Again, the Hearts from Cool Springs, the Renters from Granville, just great, great people that helped me more than I could even begin to explain. The McCormicks that when they started, they were at Cheat Lake. So, and when I came back, I was talking to Lisa and I said, you know what strikes me most is the guys I'm fighting fire with now. I fought fire with their fathers and their grandfathers. I said, I'm 3 generations deep in this stuff, at least 3, getting close to 4 now. But I said it really humbles you when you've been around that long and all the great people you've been with, and just to see this tradition continue through the families.
It definitely is.
And again, I mean, talking to you, I got to mention the Clodges.
Yeah, they've
That's
definitely been around for a while. That's for sure.
a long time.
That's like it's so crazy that being from the outside, kind of coming in. Like I didn't have any families in any kind of fire service before this, and I was looking at one of our pictures up there in the fire department, and it was like 1966, and one of my wife's great grandpas. There's a few people in there that like it's their parents and grandparents and uncles and stuff have been in this for 60, 70 years, and it's hundreds of years. It's crazy.
Yeah, I got lucky at Brookhaven because I went to school with a lot of those guys. And a cousin of mine volunteered back there in the 60s and 70s. So when I put my application in, they're like, "Are you related to Ronnie?" I said, "Ronnie that lived across the street." And they're like, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, it's my uncle's son." So yeah, it was a little easier.
Yeah.
And again, back in those days, we had a waiting list of people wanting to join.
Yeah, it's definitely a rare time, man.
It is.
It's really, really weird.
Another thing I want to mention is the National Fire Academy in Emmitsburg, Maryland. We have a West Virginia weekend every year. Go take classes there. I've had some just outstanding instructors. Hazmat captain from San Francisco, Chief Dennis Rubin, just people that'll teach you so much.
Yeah, man. It's I tell you what, if I it's funny because we brought up about the New York thing about how all those guys died with all that talent, and you sit back and you think at your fire departments now, being a young guy, if a lot of these guys just up and left, I think a lot of fire departments would, they'd be screwed. I don't think there's so much talent in all these fire departments that but we also got to make sure that you're one of the you're one of the senior guys. Guys got to make sure that you guys pass down that knowledge.
Yeah.
You got to make sure, because when you die, man, I mean, it all goes with you.
Yep, exactly. And a bunch of us were talking about getting together one day and just sitting down and talking to each other. And, pass this knowledge down to the newer firefighters.
Right. Well, Larry, I think it's funny you brought that up. That's one of the reasons why I actually wanted to start this podcast, is I see guys all the time, that had long career. I mean, like you. I mean, there's a lot of, people like my wife's grandpa and stuff that, been up there for 50 years. And all these stories and stuff, man. I mean, I could only sit around with him for so long and him tell stories. He can't tell me all of them. So that's kind of why I started this, man. It's because once we die, I mean, everything goes with us. That's kind of why I started this, to bring people on and kind of tell their stories.
Yeah. And if you know me, I like to tell the stories, man. And that started real early, and I was told fairy tales begin with once upon a time, a war story starts with this ain't no shit.
That's funny. Yeah, that's true. That is really true. All right, man. Well, I really appreciated you coming on, man. I really did.
Not a problem. You need anything, you know how to get a hold of me.
All right,
anybody out there, you need something, let me know, brothers and sisters. We'll get it done.
All right, man.
All right,
thank you very much,
have a great
Larry.
day. It's been very enjoyable.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good talking to you, brother.
Thank you, man. Take care.
Have a good one.